In today's video, I'm going to take you through the exact 3-step system I installed with my client Tom to touch 12 kilos of body fat in less than 90 days, doing 80% less than he was doing before. So if you're a man over 30 and you feel like you're constantly training, constantly dieting and getting no results in return, then this video is going to be an absolute game changer for you. You're going to be able to take away some big aha moments that you can use on your own journey to break through that plateau and start seeing some real tangible change. So Tom was actually in fantastic shape in his 20s, and he said he could go into the gym, do random sets for a random amount of reps, jump on the cardio machine, and weight just seemed to drop off. And now he was in his 30s, he said it felt like every kilo was an absolute battle and his body wasn't responding like it used to. And that's because when you're in your 30s or older, your body changes, metabolism slows down, recovery takes longer, and if you don't take these into account, it can feel like that stubborn belly fat just won't budge. And that's exactly where Tom was. He was stuck in a rebound loop of knuckling down for a couple of weeks, being really good, eating clean, training 5-6 times a week, only for life to throw him an obstacle, or the fact it was just unsustainable, unenjoyable, he'd just fall off plan and repeat this process over and over again. And he was starting to lack confidence and trust, not only in himself but the process, because confidence isn't built by shouting affirmations in the mirror. It's built by saying, I'm going to do something, doing it, seeing a result. And every time Tom said he was going to do something and he didn't do it and he let himself down, he would lose trust not only in himself but the process. And that was a really negative place to be. It was spilling into other areas of his life. It was turning into a bad mood. Yeah, and he was just really frustrated. So the first thing I did with Tom was take him for our clarity formula. That's where we get from our superficial goal of I want to lose some fat and get in shape, and we get to that deep emotional reason of why he's here, why it's important to make a change. It's really important to understand this, because if you just have that superficial goal of, oh, I want to lose fat, I want to feel better, it's not tangible enough. There's no urgency. It's not going to get you out of bed in the morning. So we moved from that superficial goal and got to that deep emotional reason of why he was here, why this was important to him, and why he was willing to invest in himself. And it turned out he wanted to get in the best physical and mental state he could be for his friends, for his family. He wanted to be able to keep up with his young kids, have the energy to play with them, and he wanted discipline, motivation that spilled into other aspects of his life. And he wanted to look great and he wanted to feel great. He was closer to 40 and that was starting to scare him. So there was some urgency there. That's real tangible reason to want to make a change that's bigger than just him. He wanted to basically be a happier, healthier, more energized version of himself or his family. And that's an amazing reason for wanting to make a change. Because there's so much conflicting information out there, Tom had no idea what actually worked. So he ended up trying to do everything, throw everything at the wall and just hoping something would stick. He would do more workouts, endless cardio. He would demonize all the food he's enjoyed and try and eat clean. And he would jump from diet to diet. He would jump from program to program, hoping that he was going to find something that would stick. But actually all that happened is he created an approach to his training and nutrition that was unsustainable, it was unenjoyable, and it created too many friction points. A friction point is where the goals you want to achieve clash with the life you want to live. Yes, Tom wanted to get in shape, burn fat, have more energy for his kids, but he didn't want to do it at the expense of not being able to go out for dinners or have pizza night with his family or go on holidays without being anxious or worrying about falling off plan. So when I asked Tom what his biggest struggle was, he said it was basically sticking to it, building that consistency, building that momentum long enough to see any change. Because every couple of weeks he would have a wobble. Like I said, life would get in the way. His approach was unsustainable, it was unenjoyable, like keto, and he just had no idea what actually worked. He was trying to do everything and just stick to it for as long as he can, and that is the best way to set yourself up for failure. So Tom was constantly balancing work, family, and the chaos of daily life and trying to balance that with his personal fitness goals. And the problem was he was trying to do too much, and as a result it didn't fit into his life. It created too many friction points, and that's why he wasn't able to stick to anything long enough to see any tangible result. As you can see here, we've got a typical transformation program running over 12 weeks along the x-axis and motivation running along the y-axis. Because Tom had no idea what actually worked, he believed that if he wasn't seeing results, he wasn't doing enough. So he followed this all or nothing approach, clean eating, training 5-6 times a week, doing a ton of cardio. And because the barrier of resistance was so high, it required his motivation to be an 8.5 out of 10. And like he said, he could stick to it for the first couple of weeks when his motivation was high. But then guess what? The novelty would wear off. Life would get in the way. One of his kids would get sick. Life would throw him a curveball. He would then have super low energy because he wasn't consuming enough calories. He was overtraining. And then he would end up binge eating because he was trying to eat clean. And when you demonize foods and say you can't have things, guess what? You want them more. And inevitably he gave in. And yeah, it's just one of the best ways to set yourself up for failure. So he would fall off plan. He would get frustrated. He would motivate himself on Sunday night and say, come on, you said you were going to do this. Motivation would jump up. He would stick to it for the first couple of weeks. And then again, he would skip a workout. Life would get in the way. He would eat something that he demonized as bad, or he'd look in the mirror and think, you know what? I have no idea if this is actually working. He would get frustrated, motivation would drop back down, and he would just get stuck in this loop. Tom felt like he was pushing a rock up a hill, and no matter how hard he tried, his goals just kept getting further and further away. He was stuck in a perpetual loop of dieting and exercising. He couldn't stick to anything, like we saw, long enough to see any results, and he was constantly waiting to be motivated before starting over again at square one. I think the average person tries to transform their body around 5 or 8 times a year, which is absolutely bananas if you think about the negative knock-on effect it has. You say you're going to do something, you let yourself down, then you lose confidence and you lose trust in yourself and the process. And I know how dangerous that is because I was there. I started to think I was the problem. I was looking around at other people that were in better shape than me, and I started to feel like I just didn't have enough discipline, enough willpower, and that kind of lack of confidence started to spill into other aspects of my life, and it's a really, really negative place to be. So one of the things we did when he first started was set his constraints. I call these the non-negotiables. What is he willing to do? Yes, he wants a six-pack, like I said. He wants to get in shape, he wants to burn fat, but he doesn't want to do it at the cost of not being able to go out with friends and family for dinner or weekends away or holidays without feeling anxious or having to track every single calorie. So Tom's non-negotiables were he wanted to train only 3 times a week, no more than 45 minutes. He didn't want to do any separate cooking in the evening with his family. He wanted everything to fit seamlessly in, and he didn't want to give up pizza night with the kids, and he didn't want to put his life on hold. He had a ton of trips, birthdays, weddings, stag do's coming up within these 90 days, and he didn't want to miss out on them. And this is so important. Once you've found your constraints, you can then start to build an approach to nutrition and training that slots into your lifestyle, not the other way around, reduces those friction points. That is the key to building a plan you can actually stick to. And that's exactly what we did. We built an approach to his nutrition and training using our minimum effective dose method. It's a proven system for men over 30 to lose 8 kilos of body fat or more and build a lean athletic physique in under 90 days, training 2 hours a week and using a couple of flexible nutrition tools. There are 3 pillars to the M.E.D method, guys. Number 1, it's the nutrition toolkit. So it's really important to understand the principle versus the method. The principle is calories in versus calories out. In order to successfully lose fat, you have to be in a negative energy balance. That's a calorie deficit, because a calorie is just a unit of energy, and we consume calories to go about a daily task, to burn, to keep us alive, or we store that calorie as energy for later. So someone with a lot of fat is someone with a lot of stored energy. So once you understand the principle of calories in versus calories out, that's a law of thermodynamics, you can then pick the method, the tools, the strategies that adhere to that principle or adhere to that law and make sticking to that calorie deficit as easy as possible. And that's exactly what we did with Tom. I gave him 2 to 3 flexible nutrition tools that adhered to that fundamental principle of calories in versus calories out and made the process of sticking to his calorie deficit as easy as possible. So he could go on weekends away, holidays, social events, and still torch up to 1 kilogram of fat. And that was such a game changer for Tom. And it's really important to note that there isn't one method that works for every situation. Yes, there's a certain method that worked for Tom Monday to Thursday when he was locked in a routine at home with his kids, but that wasn't the same method he needed when he went away for a weekend or went away on a stag do. So it's really important to have a variety of tools in your toolbox that you can pull out at different times, and that's how you build a flexible nutrition plan you can actually stick to. The one that ebbs and flows with the realities of your life, guys. The more rigid it is, the more friction point, the more opportunity to fall off plan. Number 2 is we built him a training program, guys. Everyone that comes onto our programs gets a customized training program using our minimalist training protocol. He was no longer going to the gym, doing random sets for a random amount of reps, doing this junk volume. We were able to establish his minimum effective dose, the amount of volume his body needed so he could torch fat, build muscle, and completely transform his body composition without living in the gym or grinding through hours of cardio. And that's another thing. He was doing so much cardio before, and the problem with that, the more energy you expend, the more energy your body wants to input. It basically wants to increase your hunger and cravings to try and get you to eat more. So there's a real point of diminishing returns with cardio. And in fact, we did no cardio at all. We installed a neat fat loss formula that helped him torch belly fat without spiking his hunger and cravings. And that was an absolute game changer for Tom. Number 3 is we installed our confidence catalyst. This is such an important point. Tom had let himself down so many times. He was lacking trust and confidence in himself, but also the process. He didn't actually believe deep down that he could do this. So we installed our win tracker. We started stacking up micro wins, and that helped him build consistency, momentum, and then guess what? He started seeing results, and then motivation appears, and then confidence appears when you start stacking up evidence and proving to yourself that you are the person that can do this. And that confidence starts to spill into other aspects of your life. This system doesn't rely on willpower or burst of motivation, guys. Because we established his minimum effective dose, he was doing about 80% less than he was doing before. And because of that, the barrier of resistance was so low. He had a couple of flexible nutrition tools, and he was training 3 times a week. There was no cardio, and it slotted into his lifestyle. So his motivation only had to be around a 3.5 out of 10. And as a result, he was able to stick to it. He was able to start seeing results, stacking up some micro wins. He started sending me messages like this. He had bought new shorts, and he was size 32 for the first time in 17 years. And it was these micro wins that started to stack up. He started to cast evidence for the person that he was becoming. He started to believe that he could actually do this. And then guess what? He got to week 6, it's the aha moment, it's the holy shit moment, this is actually working, where you look back on your 6-week photos and he was completely blown away. He couldn't believe that he had actually been able to stick to it, and he had actually started to see some change. He got down to around 94 kilos, he torched 6 kilos of belly fat, and yeah, as you can see, his physique was really starting to take shape. And this creates a momentum loop. You no longer rely on motivation or willpower because you're starting to see some change. It just becomes this beautiful process. And at week 8, he sent me this lovely message saying that was keeping him on the straight and narrow, holding him accountable, yeah, helping him build that momentum and that consistency. And that's such an important point, guys. So many people second guess themselves, they get over emotional, and then they end up jumping from one thing to another, which is where Tom was before. But when you have someone that you can lean on, guiding you through your transformation, you no longer second guess yourself. So you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the process. And that means you are so much more likely to stick to it. And probably the most important point of all, because we have built this approach to his nutrition and training around his constraints, we built it to slot into his lifestyle, he was able to continually stack up those wins and prove to himself that he was able to go away on stag do's, weddings, and still make progress. And he sent me this message here where he was absolutely buzzing that he'd done a 2-day stag do and a wedding, and not only that, he was still managing to do all the things he needed to do in order to move that needle forward and continue to see progress. And that just added to this confidence that he was able to do this. And he got to the end of the 90 days and he completely transformed his body composition, guys. And this is crazy to think, because he spent years spinning his wheels, struggling, frustrated, stuck. And in 90 days, we were able to absolutely transform his body composition. And one thing Tom had struggled with in the past is he always ended up rebounding because he didn't know how to maintain his results. And that's something I see time and time again. So many people say, oh yeah, I did something that worked really well. And I'm like, great, where are your results? And they're like, oh, I did see results, but you know, life got in the way. I went away on holiday, I ended up rebounding. It's like, well, it didn't work then, because the goal is not to see results and then rebound and then just do the transformation over and over again. It's to have an approach to nutrition and training that you can turn around in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, and be completely blown away by your progress. The goal is for this to be the last transformation you'll ever need. And that's exactly what we did with Tom. We stabilized his new weight. We did that using our metabolic reset protocol. We reverse dieted him, and that allowed his body to effectively have more calories, but stay at this checkpoint. By the end of the transformation, he was stabilized around 89 kilos, which is 11 kilograms of body fat less than he started at, and he was consuming more, which was absolutely bananas. And he couldn't believe the amount of freedom and the amount of flexibility he had once we installed our metabolic reset protocol. As a result, he's now able to stick to this, maintain his results, and continue to get results long into the future. So if you've resonated with this, you're a man over 30, you feel like you're spinning your wheels, you're frustrated, and you would love to know how our minimum effective dose method could help you, then all you have to do is click the link below, direct message me the word interested on Instagram, and I'll send everything over in a Google document, a breakdown of our 90-day M.E.D transformation program. You can have a read through. There's no need for a call. There's no pressure. If it feels like it's something that you would benefit from, if it feels like this is your time, you're ready to make a change, then we can take it from there. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.